I'm good, thank you. Oh, meeting is being recorded. Sorry, I'm a little late. They're cutting down a giant tree outside my house. So I was like, how long will you guys be cutting down the tree? And they were like 3 days. I'm like, okay, I will just find another place to sit. So sorry.
Well, that is awfully inconvenient of them. They certainly should have checked with you, shouldn't they?
You know, like I understand. We know this is very important, but I feel like the council does not agree. So I will unplug my cat fountain. The cat is there. She's ready.
Hi, kitty. What a cute kitty.
But yes, thank you for your time. Sorry, I am a few
No
minutes.
worries at all, Lauren. Where are you right now?
I am in Los Angeles, and yeah, I had to walk around the house being like, where are they cutting? Where does it sound the worst? And this is the best option. So
yeah, you got the gold records in the background. I love it.
You know, it makes me look very braggy, which is not very Scottish. So I don't know.
Have you spent most of the lockdown in Scotland or in Los Angeles?
In Los Angeles, yeah, because Martin and I moved here temporarily separately, but like half a mile apart. And just because we have a visa, so we thought we would try stuff and, you know, trying to get writing jobs for other people.
Sure.
But we did that a few months before COVID.
So you kind of got stuck here?
Yeah. So, and I guess at this point, like we have visas approved, but the embassies aren't open for appointments. So we can't leave. So
have you enjoyed your time in LA other than being during a pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, I feel very fortunate that, you know, I have a house, I can work from home. I have 2 cats inside it. Like, I'm very lucky on that.
Laura, let's talk about Church's latest track. It's called He Said, She Said. It's a lead track from the new album. Did you write this song and the others on the album during the lockdown?
Yes, we had to make the record remotely. So we had 2 or 3 weeks together in February, start of March 2020. And then as the news started to unfold, Ian from the band went back to Scotland, and then we did the rest remotely. So
wow. So you and Mark were in LA and he was in Scotland?
Yes, but the stay-at-home order was such that I couldn't go to Martin's house until about September time. So we had to be all completely separately and just working over Zoom and this file audio sharing service called Audio Movers. I feel like every band in the universe is using Audio Movers.
Yes, I think you're probably right.
But yeah, we were very fortunate that we have 2 producers in the band. So we were more used to that kind of production style than I think a lot of people would be. Like we're, if anything, making the 3rd album and going into bigger, fancier studios with other people was more foreign to us than working by ourselves in our rooms. If that
very
makes
self-sufficient,
sense.
And I think that's the way so many artists are these days.
Yeah, and we're very lucky to have that. And I suppose that's kind of just the background we come from. Like we were never in bands growing up where you could pay to go to London to make a recording. Like it was just like whoever in the band was the best at it would use the 4-track, and then you would graduate up from that. And that's actually how I met Ian. Was he recorded for my old band. He was making an EP for us, which we saved up for, and we were like, we're going to get Ian Cook is going to make our demo. And I don't know, like I'm still very close friends with the other guys in the band, but they probably are like, wait a minute, we paid 400 quid for an EP and then you took our singer. That's not cool. So
not cool at all.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the track, Lauren. Vulture magazine refers to the song as a huge anti-sexist anthem. Do you think that's an accurate description? How would you describe the song? What's it about?
I think it's been really interesting for us to see how people have responded to the song now it's been released, because it genuinely didn't occur to me that was what that would be interpreted as. Because for me, it's about a personal experience and a particular situation and certain frustrations. I didn't really think about it as I'm writing a manifesto. Here I go. But I think that's what's powerful about music, is if you can describe your experience and then somehow that connects with other people. And yeah, I think that there's been plenty of times that male musicians have made music not considering whether they're alienating a female audience. So I guess maybe it's good that I made it and didn't consider who the target demographic was meant to be, which I think if you overthink that too much, and I think if you tried to write that song consciously, it would have been too cheesy or forthright. And, you know, I feel like there's definite space for that, but yeah, I wasn't, in my mind, I'm like, well, people are already doing that much better. Like, I'm not trying to rip off Riot Girl in a pop song, but I'm glad that there's a mutation of that has arrived by happy coincidence, you know?
Well, as tough as the past 14 months have been for pretty much everybody, I think for certain creatives like yourself, I would guess the isolation has perhaps been a good thing, at least as far as songwriting and creating music go. Would you agree with that, or is that completely wrong?
I would say, yeah, especially for a lyric writer. Like, I think I'm really bad for running away from my problems. I love to do that. It's a really good profession for being able to do that. So, yeah, I think that, and I think the content of this record is different than what it would have been if we had made it under normal circumstances. Not because it's an album about a pandemic, but because you were not allowed outside of your house. You couldn't, if you got stuck on writing or you got uncomfortable with what it seemed like you were starting to say, you couldn't just go do something else, or there were no distractions. So you had to kind of sit in it. And that was unpleasant sometimes, but ultimately I think the product, well, not the product, the final product, I think has a lot more depth to it because of that. But it's weird. Like this morning, I realized that I haven't seen a human being other than on Zoom since Sunday, which is the last time I saw Martin. I went to his studio, and then I've just been here
with the
cats and chatting to the guys who are cutting down that tree outside. So, and people on Zoom. So it is odd, but yeah, it's hard to remind yourself to go outside and if it's anyway.
So this is Church's fourth album. How would you say your sound has changed since your debut album, The Bones of What You Believe In, back in 2013? Or has it changed?
I think it has changed just naturally over time. I don't think that we were ever consciously trying to leave anything behind. If anything, on the third album, I think we were like, okay, how can we make this more direct? And maybe that's because the genre that we were doing had become a lot more popularized during that time. Like, we obviously didn't originate it. We owe a lot of gratitude to people for not suing us for ripping off bands from the 80s. But yeah, it felt like mainstream pop was now doing what we had already been doing. So it's like, how do you then stay relevant in that race? And I guess that was the time that we were like, well, but we could streamline things a bit more and just go more for the jugular, and that felt right for us to do at that time. But beyond that, I feel like it's just evolved naturally as we've all got to know each other more, got to know ourselves differently. And when I listen to the first album, I can tell that it's me, but I think like my voice has grown over time, and like lyrically you write different things when you're 33 than when you're 23.
Of course.
I think you should anyway.
Should, yeah.
But I think, we're very much in love with all the records that we've made still, and they're all part of a story. I never understand when bands disown an album because they get bored of it or they regret what they did with it. I don't think that you should do that, because it's all part of the tapestry of the band. And it's every song somewhere is someone's favorite song, even the ones that you think that everybody hates now, or that's always somebody's favorite thing. So I hate it when bands slag off their past work. I think that's naff. You have to own your choices, choose your choices, and then be a grown-up.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you and the boys plan to tour to support the album?
We do. I mean, everything's like tentative with your fingers crossed. You never know. But we have made a number of plans and backup plans. So we hope to, because touring's just always been such a huge part of this band and of any band we've ever been in. Like, I feel like that in a way is what helped us last when a big crop of bands sort of like us came out in like 2013, 14. I feel like we got out of the blogosphere relatively quickly because we were out on the road and we were touring all the time. And when you saw the show, you were like, oh, this is a band. It's not just like a producer thing online, which is totally valid in itself, but it's not the world that we come from. So yes, we're excited. I don't know how I'll do it without just weeping. I was always a little bit of obviously an emotional person, but I feel like 2020 has pushed me over the edge. I cry about everything all the time, good or bad. Like, anything
hear
that
you.
is any extreme, it's just like sobbing. And I guess singing, you have to use, your breathing mechanism and your throat. So I don't know how I will do that whilst heavily sobbing. It's hard to say.
One very cool thing we found out this year, just in the last couple of weeks, we finally know once and for all why the band spells the name Churches with a V rather than a U. Was it on TikTok or Instagram? You made the announcement.
Yes, yes. I feel like because we were on a bunch of different labels in different places, and all the labels were like, "For crying out loud, will you please get TikTok?" And I was like, "What would I do on TikTok? I don't know what to do on there. I don't understand." So yes, I had to sit down and make a big list of like what might be not embarrassing or people might find interesting if they like the band. So yes, when it is true, for many years we were like, our friend made a logo of it and it came up on the internet, which is true, but it was also because after we'd started releasing music and the band was already in the consciousness, we found out that there was an American band called CHVRCHES with a U, and then we were like, guys, what do you reckon? And then they were like, oh, they were really nice about it, and they were like, maybe you could be called Churches UK, and we were like, oh, that spells churches suck when you put it on a poster. So I don't want to be going around giving people ammunition before they've even heard of us. So we were like, well, Amy made this logo. It's got a V in it. CHVRCHES. There it is.
Yeah, it looks cool as heck.
And it makes us seem very smart, as if we know about Latin and the language evolution. And yeah.
Laura, before I let you go, prepping for this interview, I read an article and you said one thing you're particularly looking forward to when the COVID restrictions are completely lifted. You want to go to the cinema and have I'm reading it here, a wee pick and mix. What is pick and mix?
Yes, because you guys don't do the pick and mix.
No, I don't think so.
I mean, maybe in a post-COVID universe, this sounds even more unhygienic than it did. And I've worked in cinemas, movie theaters in the UK, and I've seen people put their hands in when they shouldn't have. But it's just a big wall of like little pots of candy, and you take a bag and you create your own adventure. The pick and mix.
Okay, we have that. I just didn't know it was called.
Yeah, but not in movie theaters, which is odd to me. Like you have it in like old school drugstores and like that kind of stuff.
Yes.
But not every so often when I go in, I'm like, somebody should tell them. This is really great, because then when you're in the dark and you don't know what you're gonna get, it's exciting.
Do you have a favorite candy?
I'm a real sucker for anything like sour and gummy.
Oh yeah, I love Starburst. I love
my
gummy
favorite. Oh yes, and my favorite pick and mix to do is I'm just gonna tell you, in case you guys go to the UK when you're allowed to travel, I like to get like the cherry cola bottles and mix them with chocolate raisins, which sounds gross.
No, that sounds delicious.
But the sugar dispersing over and then my move, so you guys can all have this. As a former cinema employee, people need to be quiet in the movie theater, so I always rip off the top few inches of the bag so that you access in and out way quicker and no like crumpling on the way down.
You are clearly a considerate person that was brought up right.
Well, I also am a British passive aggressive person. So if someone's using their phone, I have like a tiered approach. I'll kind of like, you gently look over your shoulder, hoping that they catch the gentle look. And then you do a kind of sigh, and then a sigh and look, and then maybe somebody else, never me.
But unfortunately, like, Lauren, you could never
use your phone.
You could never give anyone a dirty look. I don't think you have a dirty look in your arsenal.
Well, I mean, many people in my life, I'm sure the band guys would disagree with you on that one. They'd be like, no, she's got a really good stank eye. Like, I thought I was very good at hiding my emotions and being mature until recently. Martin from the band was like, you're the worst poker face of all time. Like, with your words, you'd be like, that's okay, I don't mind. And then you're like Ren and Stimpy, teary-eyed, like, I'm like, that's fine, I don't mind, it's okay, I'm not upset. Like, so,
thank you so much for taking the time. I know your time is short. Good luck with the tree cutting down procedure there.
Yes, thank you. I'm gonna just go back, and it's quite terrifying to look at, but yes, thank you so much for your time, and hopefully there wasn't too much Chainsaw Massacre coming up in the audio.
I did your thing, and I sure hope CHVRCHES adds to their tour a date in Portland, Oregon, because we would love to see you.
Yes, big wink. I think that we
okay. All right. Take care, Lauren.
Thanks so
I appreciate
much,
it so much. See ya.
Okay. Bye. Have a good day.
Bye.